For the first week after unlocking his trait, Kim Se-jin lived in isolation, akin to a mental patient. This was understandable, as he suddenly had to exist as a monster for 23 out of 24 hours each day. His bosses from various part-time jobs tried to contact him through messages and phone calls, but he barely registered their attempts, letting them pass without much notice. Two of his bosses showed concern, while the other one responded with harsh verbal abuse. Se-jin understood their reactions, considering the circumstances. However, he struggled to grasp the absurdity of his own situation. After another week, his once tidy and meticulously kept room turned into a disorganized mess. This was expected, as his claws left unsightly scars everywhere, no matter how carefully he moved. Living like this, in a state that could hardly be called living, another 4 days passed. Only then did Se-jin finally accept his predicament. His new form had a body length of about 2 meters, a shoulder height of 1.2 meters, a 50 centimeters tail, and weighed over 90 kilograms, covered in brown fur. These measurements might resemble a young tiger's, but they actually described Se-jin. He had become a brown wolf. A monster considered the weakest prey, frequently targeted by self-proclaimed knights, mercenaries, or hunters. This creature was difficult to categorize, straddling the fine line between a mere beast and a true monster. Brown wolves, like Se-jin, were often the preferred targets for novice hunters, frequently killed on sight due to their abundance and the minor trouble they caused for regular citizens. Initially, Se-jin struggled to accept this form for understandable reasons. After coming to terms with his new form, Se-jin realized his troubles were far from over. He now had to devise plans to safely live, driven by a stronger than expected desire to survive. Fortunately, he had $3,500 in his bank account, for which he was grateful. Se-jin quickly decided to maximize his use of the precious 1-hour window in which he could take on his human form. For food, Se-jin bought easy-to-prepare TV dinners from a convenience store 5 minutes away, always eating them in his human form, as his pride wouldn't allow otherwise. He ensured a 30-minute buffer for any unforeseen emergencies. Additionally, he practiced controlling the strength of his brown wolf form to perfectly mimic the creature. After 4 days of effort, Se-jin learned to retract his sharp claws. Whenever possible, he shifted into his goblin form to clean his home. Though only 140 centimeters tall, the goblin's surprisingly nimble hands were well suited for tasks requiring precision, making it perfect for household chores. Although some claw marks remained, Se-jin's room soon regained its spotless, clean appearance. However, the biggest issue remained: living expenses. Without paying the monthly rent, he knew he was living on borrowed time. Se-jin turned to the bracelet computer, which had been sitting neglected in a corner of the room. He intended to search for ways to start earning from home, but hesitated. With only a middle school graduation certificate and being a high school dropout, he doubted anyone would be willing to hire him for remote work. Se-jin looked at the hologram display with a hint of regret, gently touching it. Suddenly, an idea struck him, prompting him to search for information about monsters. In doing so, he stumbled upon a hint that could potentially save his life. As he read the topic, a fierce gleam of determination shone in his eyes. The question posed was whether the lycanthrope, the apex predator among wolf-type monsters, truly existed. The answer, based on accounts from the first-generation Suins who traversed the world's rift, suggested they did exist in legends. Lycanthropes possessed the remarkable ability to shift effortlessly between a formidable bipedal wolf form and a flawless guise of a tailless human, reminiscent of traits found in Suins. However, their class of immense power surpassed comparison and was on an entirely different scale. Despite this, their violent nature led to their extinction, turning them into legendary creatures. The lycanthrope, an elusive monster Se-jin had heard of before, though only vaguely. It possessed the extraordinary ability to seamlessly transform between a perfect human and its monstrous form, distinct from the Suin's abilities. Notably, the human form of a lycanthrope lacked a tail. As Se-jin pondered, a thought crossed his mind. The trait unequivocally stated that when specific conditions are met, monster ranks will increase. Se-jin grasped this intuitively, realizing that his only path to survival lay in leveraging this rule. Regardless of the conditions, he knew he had to swiftly fulfill them to evolve repeatedly. While there was a risk of his evolution taking a wrong turn, it remained his sole option. With resolve, he rose to his feet, knowing his path was already decided. For ages, the mountainous regions of Gangwon Province had served as the designated territory for monsters. The territory housed a variety of monsters, ranging from low-tier creatures like wolves, orcs, and goblins, to mid-tier beings such as trolls and gargoyles, and finally high-tier monsters like ogres and wyverns. This made Gangwon Province in the Republic of Korea home to one of the world's most diverse monster ecosystems. Monster hunting knights and hunters were drawn to this area, seeing it as the ideal spot to profit in the home of monsters. However, only those knights of mid to high tier ranks could afford to deceive themselves into believing it was an easy source of wealth. The mountains were perceived by many as a living hell, a battleground where ferocious monsters clashed in brutal conflict. For those risking their lives to capture these creatures, the desire to leave this deadly arena behind was universal, with many longing to obtain their exit passports and never return. Encouraging his struggling comrade, Kim Taejo urged them not to falter. Assistance awaited at the borders of Gangwon Province from the military. Despite the blood streaming down his forehead, the low-tier hunter couldn't spare a moment to tend to his own injuries, focusing instead on rousing his fallen companion. Taejo's companion, his eyes shut tight, murmured words of despair, his body ravaged by injury. With one leg lost and the flicker of life dimming, he expressed his inability to carry on. Observing closely, the scene appeared grim and unsettling. Even a cursory examination revealed that these two hunters had endured a harrowing encounter with a savage creature, evident from the profound bite marks on their injuries. Initially, their group comprised 3 low-tier and 2 mid-tier hunters, until they encountered a monsterized great tiger. Their fortune took a sharp turn for the worse in the face of this formidable foe. Monsterized great tigers typically inhabited the remote regions of the mountains, engaging in competition with other powerful monsters. Consequently, they rarely descended to the lower grounds near the borders. Therefore, encountering a great tiger was akin to a sudden lightning strike during a leisurely stroll in broad daylight, an occurrence deemed highly improbable. Before Kim Taejo could complete his sentence, he was interrupted by the guttural growling of a nearby beast, its ominous sound filling the air. Taejo held his breath, cautiously turning his head towards the source of the sound. There, he spotted a lone wolf, its brown fur gleaming but its frame emaciated from prolonged hunger. Its bloodshot eyes spoke volumes about its desperate state. Taejo cursed softly under his breath, realizing they were facing the weakest of monsters, a brown wolf. Under ordinary circumstances, 3 low-tier hunters would easily handle the weakened creature, possibly even just 2. However, the present scenario was dire. Taejo's comrade, missing a leg, posed a significant hindrance, and Taejo himself, exhausted from single-handedly transporting the gravely injured man, was nearing his physical limits. Desperately, Taejo shouted for the brown wolf to leave, but the creature, driven by hunger, ignored his pleas and continued to approach slowly, its drooling betraying its anticipation of a long-awaited meal. Taejo cursed under his breath, realizing he had no alternative. Forced to leave his comrade behind and flee, Taejo found himself paralyzed by exhaustion and the intimidating growl of the brown wolf. Despite his efforts to escape, his legs refused to move, ensnared by a combination of physical fatigue and fear. Despite his realization that the emaciated wolf remained swifter than him, Taejo couldn't help but curse in resignation. He reflected on his past victories over countless adversaries, yet now he acknowledged his impending defeat at the hands of this relentless predator. Taejo grasped the shotgun, depleted of mana bullets. He pinned his hopes on the slim chance of landing a decisive blow to the wolf's head. As he swallowed nervously, it served as the signal. Ignoring all else, the brown wolf kicked off the ground, hurtling madly toward him. Overwhelmed by fear, Taejo couldn't bear to witness what was about to happen. With his eyes tightly shut, he swung the rifle's stock forcefully. The resulting noise differed from what he anticipated, sounding more like a blunt impact or the snapping of a neck. Bewildered, he cautiously opened his eyes to investigate the peculiar sound. A wave of despair engulfed him as he opened his eyes. Before him stood another brown wolf, but this one was colossal, resembling a tiger on the brink of monsterization, with a body of immense proportions. The enormous brown wolf had sunk its fangs deeply into the neck of the unfortunate creature, threatening Taejo and his comrades' lives. The vast disparity in size between the two wolves made categorizing them as the same type of monster seem absurd. While the famished wolf was unusually small, Taejo had never encountered or even heard of a brown wolf of such immense proportions before. "Damn it!" Taejo muttered, unable to contain his frustration as he found himself under the intense scrutiny of the massive brown wolf. Its piercing gaze exuded confidence, born of pure and unwavering certainty. Taejo felt an indescribable pressure bearing down on him under the weight of those powerful and oddly courageous eyes. Accepting the grim reality, Taejo resigned himself to his fate. Facing both a monsterized great tiger and a tiger-sized brown wolf, he bitterly acknowledged the irony of his seemingly improved luck leading to his final moments on Earth. With a resigned sigh, he braced himself for what lay ahead. Fully resigned to his fate, Taejo sighed and shut his eyes once more. The weighty sound of paw steps echoed like distant hammer strikes in his ears. Yet, despite the anticipation, the agony of death did not come. Perplexed, Taejo cautiously reopened his eyes. With a startled cry, Taejo found the brown wolf directly in front of him. Yet what he witnessed was truly bizarre. The wolf was delicately maneuvering its sharp fangs through the gaps in his fallen comrade's armor, seemingly in the act of lifting him up. What in the world? Taejo wondered, briefly considering the notion of the wolf toying with its prey. However, he swiftly discarded that thought as the creature's next surprising actions demanded his immediate attention. With a gesture of its large head, the brown wolf indicated that it wanted Taejo to follow. It then proceeded to carry the injured comrade in its mouth toward the military base to the west. Kim Se-jin observed the hesitant male hunter trailing behind him, noting his cautious demeanor. Leaving the carcass of the deceased brown wolf behind seemed like a missed opportunity, but Se-jin concluded that its weak and malnourished state rendered it of little value as a material. Anticipating a reimbursement from the Korean government of less than $440 US, he found solace in the knowledge that he had assisted the two hunters. After an indeterminate period of walking, the exit from the mountainous border came into view. A nearby sign warned, "From here on, expect increased monster encounters." With their location confirmed, Se-jin gently laid down the unconscious hunter, whose pulse was faint, and cast a glance backward. With a comical hup, the hunter trailing Se-jin hastily held his breath in fear. Amused by the man's nervous demeanor, Se-jin decided to play a prank on him. Mimicking the sound of a growling creature, he startled the hunter, eliciting a panicked shriek as the man stumbled and fell. Se-jin couldn't help but find the scene amusing, silently wishing the man a less perilous existence. The amusing reaction brought a smile to Se-jin's lips. With a gentle pat on the shoulder of the startled and perspiring hunter, he gracefully passed by and strolled back toward the forest. Left behind, Kim Taejo remained in a state of bewilderment for quite some time. Although the massive brown wolf had vanished into the thickets, he couldn't comprehend the inexplicable and surreal encounter he had just experienced. Gradually regaining his composure, Taejo replayed the recent events in his mind. The large brown wolf, the monster, had saved him. To confirm reality, he sharply slapped his own face. "Ouch," he muttered, feeling the pain. Convinced it wasn't a dream, Taejo remained dazed, his gaze fixed on the direction the mysterious brown wolf had disappeared into. A weak cough from his wounded comrade, Song-yoon, snapped Taejo out of his daze. Reacting swiftly, he lifted Song-yoon onto his shoulder and rose to his feet. "Song-yoon, can you hear me?" he called out urgently. With a shout, Taejo attracted the attention of those at the guard post building near the exit, prompting a response. Upon hearing the desperate plea for help, soldiers quickly rushed towards the source. Relief washed over Taejo as he realized he would survive another day, momentarily setting aside the surreal memory of the wolf's rescue. A spirit beast? Yes, that's correct. Reflecting on the event, Taejo's expression was deeply moved as he sipped his warm tea. "But can a monster evolve into a spirit beast?" queried a soldier at the border exit guard post, his head tilted in puzzlement, still unconvinced. Spirit beasts, believed to be blessed by divine spirits, possessed unfathomable mysteries. Embracing the aura of Mother Nature, they exhibited enhanced physical and mental capabilities. Unlike the mana-driven vicious beasts, they were regarded and treated differently due to their distinct nature. "There's a strong chance if it's a wolf," commented Taejo. "Wolves are considered monsters due to their aggressive behavior, but they were originally wild animals," Taejo explained. The soldier was astonished by this revelation. Spirit beasts were not ordinary creatures, as evidenced by the inclusion of legendary beings like the nine-tailed fox in their ranks. Faced with the soldier's skepticism, Taejo furrowed his brow and spoke up. "There's no doubt about it. It's the truth," he asserted. Suddenly recalling something crucial, Taejo exclaimed and leapt from his seat. I had the recording lens on, Taejo exclaimed excitedly. The recording lens, as its name suggested, captured images reflected on the retina. Taejo, a hunter struggling to make ends meet, occasionally wore this lens during monster hunts to document his experiences. Taejo wore the recording lens in hopes of capturing rare monsters that could fetch a good price. Alternatively, if he recorded a detailed hunt, he could sell it as educational material to earn extra money on the side. Just hold on a moment, Taejo exclaimed. The soldier watched with concern as Taejo hastily extracted a single lens from his eye, fearing a gush of blood. Look at this, Taejo urged excitedly. Meanwhile, in a nearby cavern, Kim Se-jin, transformed into his goblin form, suddenly sneezed while in the midst of dissecting a monster carcass. Wiping his itchy nose with a bloodied hand, he neatly arranged the extracted monster materials before stowing them away. Then he settled into a stone chair, unable to suppress a cough. One of the traits inherent to goblins was their inability to stay still, a characteristic that persisted even in his goblin form. Blowing his nose, rubbing his hands aimlessly, and making odd noises were instinctive habits that Se-jin found himself doing involuntarily. Deeply disliking this aspect of his goblin form, he quickly transformed back into his brown wolf form. Snugly lying on the flat stone bed, he focused his will to summon the status window before him. Trait, monster, rank rare, trait level 3, transformation, allows the host to change from human to monster form. Human form can be maintained for 70 minutes once every 24 hours, calculated based on the energy manipulation stat. Stat, reduction, stats of monster forms are decreased while in human form. Loss of sleep, desire to sleep is eliminated. Currently maintaining the brown wolf form. Status, physical strength, 16, endurance, 15, agility, 19, energy manipulation, 7, mana affinity, 1, magic strength, 1, luck, 3 asterisk, brown wolf. In this form, strength and defense increase by 5, and agility increases by 8. In human form, these effects are reduced by 1/3. After a month of effort, his trait level had only increased by 2. Se-jin growled in frustration, dissatisfied with his slow progress. Nearly a month ago, he had resolved to become a lycanthrope, packed his few belongings, and set off for Gangwon province. The journey felt like a time attack in a video game. His previous home in the suburbs of Songpa-gu, Seoul, was much further than 30 minutes from the mountains of Gangwon. However, the advent of monotrains made the swift travel possible. Cutting it close, Se-jin carefully avoided detection by the military and the Knight's orders, successfully sneaking past the mountain region's borders. Initially, he had no clear plan. Entering the land of monsters abruptly, Se-jin repeatedly endured confusion and chaos. When monsters challenged him, Se-jin survived by shifting into either his orc form or wolf form to fight them off. It was a harrowing experience. The nauseating smell of raw flesh stuck between his teeth and the unsettling sensation of bludgeoning his opponents with a blunt weapon were experiences he struggled to get used to. Every night he cried himself to sleep, tormented by the anxiety of steadily losing his humanity. However, as time passed, the feeling of disgust gradually lessened. Although he couldn't fully accept his circumstances, Se-jin was making steady progress toward achieving his goal, step by step. The first thing Se-jin did upon entering the mountains was to find a hidden cave that hunters couldn't locate, which he then turned into his base of operations. Utilizing the goblin form's surprisingly dexterous hands, he remodeled the cave's interior and lined it with monster fur to withstand the cold weather. A nearby stream provided drinking water, and he roasted the meat of wild animals for sustenance. From then on, he focused solely on hunting. At level 1, every monster he encountered, including common brown wolves, posed a serious threat to his life. Se-jin used strategy to survive. He targeted wolves that had been rejected by their packs or were too dull-witted, relying on his orc form's superior physical strength to crush their skulls. After defeating 10 wolves, his trait leveled up for the first time. However, the changes he experienced were somewhat different from his expectations. While both his orc form and brown wolf form grew larger and stronger, strangely, his goblin form remained unchanged. However, this wasn't the growth he desired. His goal was to evolve, such as ascending to the higher-ranked gray wolf species after the brown wolf. The orc form evolved into the orc warrior, but for the goblin form, Se-jin wasn't sure what the next level was. Despite the lack of evolution, only his stats improved. Se-jin remained determined and continued to exert effort, believing that leveling up once more might be the key to achieving his goal. While disappointing, reaching trait level 2 made hunting easier for Se-jin. Even when facing other brown wolves, his size increased by over 1.5 times, giving him a significant strength advantage. He quickly became the top predator in the area. However, further leveling up proved to be increasingly challenging. Se-jin achieved level 2 after spending just 3 days and killing 10 prey. However, reaching level 3 proved much more challenging, requiring nearly 30 days and 100 kills. Frustrated, he considered hunting higher-tier monsters, but abandoned the idea due to the vast power gap between tiers in the monster world. The disparity in power between tiers was indeed enormous. For instance, comparing a brown wolf to a gray wolf illustrated this well. While both were considered low-tier, with gray wolves ranked slightly higher, the difference was significant. To hunt a gray wolf, a pack of at least 12 brown wolves was required. With no other options, he tirelessly grinded in the lowest-level hunting ground for 31 days. Eventually, he leveled up once more. However, as expected, his stats improved instead of his forms evolving. Despite his increased size and overall power, which might have rivaled that of a gray wolf, Se-jin still couldn't become one. Frustrated, he wondered what he needed to do to achieve his goal. A surprisingly cute sound escaped his nostrils as he sighed in his wolf form. None of the terrified hunters would have considered him cute, as they fled in panic upon encountering his massive brown wolf form. As he pondered his situation, strange text appeared before his eyes. Condition complete. Minimum reputation. At least 100 people have recognized and remembered the existence of the brown wolf. All stats increase by 1. The host gains access to the gray wolf form instead of the brown wolf, with all related stats adjusted accordingly. The gray wolf's sense of smell becomes accessible during the human form. Active skill. Status: physical strength 22, endurance 21, agility 28, energy manipulation 8, mana affinity 2, magic strength 2, luck 4. Gray wolf: strength and defense increase by 10, agility increases by 16. In human form, effects are reduced by 1/3. What in the world? Se-jin was momentarily speechless at this unexpected change. Quickly recovering, Se-jin examined his new body with his inquisitive round eyes. He could clearly see the changes. His once brown fur had transformed into a shiny gray coat. The remains of a monster could serve various purposes, either useful or useless. Monster remains had diverse uses depending on their characteristics. Sturdy bones and tough skin could be recycled as base materials for crafting weapons to combat other monsters. If mana accumulated in the heart and formed a mana stone, the carcass could serve as the foundation for creating magic and miracles. The enchanting effect imbued scientifically unexplainable magical effects to people and items, granting them miraculous abilities. The government was responsible for disposing of monster remains. This decision was made to accurately assess the situation within monster territory and to ensure an appropriate response if necessary. It also aimed to prevent private entities motivated by greed from exploiting the knights or the hunters. The Monster Remains Disposal through Public Enterprises Act was unique to South Korea. This legislation made the country a haven for individuals earning a livelihood from monster remains, resulting in a higher proportion of knights, mercenaries, and hunters in the population. 2 brown wolves. You'll receive a government reimbursement of $880 along with your new low-tier hunter license. Congratulations on your rank promotion, sir, the attendant said to Se-jin. Currently, he was inside the government-operated monster store, where monster remains were disposed of. It served as a place for selling remains, purchasing equipment, and handling administrative tasks, including determining hunters' rankings. Hunter ranks were determined based on their current performance, primarily the number of monsters hunted and killed. The Hunters' Union had delegated the responsibility of assigning ranks to the monster store long ago. The remaining remuneration will be deposited into the account number you've provided us with after final calculations are completed. The female government worker complimented Se-jin on his impressive dismantling skill and achievements, despite being a hunter for only a month. Se-jin, maintaining his expressionless demeanor, accepted his new hunter license and left without further comment. Around 30 days ago, Se-jin attained the title of lowest-tier hunter through a straightforward registration process. All he needed to do was capture a single monster to become a hunter officially. Following his registration, Se-jin began selling 2-3 portions of monster materials every 4 days or so. Se-jin limited his monster material sales to avoid drawing unwanted attention, preferring to keep a low profile due to his unique condition. While he wasn't the only individual with a trait, the notion of a trait transforming a person into a monster was widely dismissed as absurd by the general populace. It seemed more plausible to suggest that a monster was masquerading as a human, as evidenced by recent incidents that led to the term Monster Man being coined. With only 40 minutes remaining, Se-jin, whose survival depended on time-sensitive factors, needed to depart swiftly despite the store's proximity to the monster field. In the afternoon yesterday, around 7 o'clock, an unusual incident took place in the mountainous areas of Gangwon Province, known as the Monster Field. Se-jin paused his steps upon hearing the television broadcasting news within the monster store. The store's layout resembled a modern bank, complete with a hologram TV providing high-definition images for those in the queue. The news anchor mentioned an incident where a brown wolf rescued hunters from another brown wolf. The footage, recorded by low-tier hunter Kim Tae-jo using a recording lens, was uploaded to social networking sites and gained widespread attention. Now the broadcast shifted to a playback of the blurry recording. In a dire situation with depleted mana bullets and stamina, Mr. Tae-jo confronts a starving brown wolf while refusing to abandon his severely wounded comrade. He grips the shotgun tightly, preparing to face the wolf head-on. The projection displayed the intimidating image of the growling, starving wolf. Swinging the rifle with all his strength, Mr. Tae-jo resigns himself, closing his eyes. The projection momentarily blackens, only to reveal a larger brown wolf when he cautiously reopens his eyes, perplexed by the sudden change. The starving wolf menacing the hunters was swiftly dispatched when the giant brown wolf intervened, sinking its fangs into the aggressor's neck. Despite this rescue, Mr. Tae-jo remained gripped by despair, anticipating the giant brown wolf's imminent attack. However, to his surprise, this wolf behaved differently. The brown wolf, rather than launching an assault, gently lifted the unconscious hunter in its jaws and proceeded to depart in a calm manner. Gesturing with its head as if inviting Mr. Tae-jo to follow, the wolf carried the injured hunter away. After a moment of dazed observation, Mr. Tae-jo quickly rose to his feet and cautiously trailed after the creature. After a brief journey, the projection revealed blurry images of the distant border post. The wolf gently laid down the injured hunter it had been carrying and then calmly retreated into the forest. The final scenes depicted the wolf's departing figure as it strolled away at ease. The recording has gained immense popularity across various online platforms, including portal sites, social media networks, and community chat rooms, ever since it was uploaded to Mr. Tae-jo's personal social media profile. Online users are buzzing with excitement over the recording, with comments like, "Why does that wolf have such a handsome face? I want to keep him. No, I want him to keep me. I might fall in love even if it's a monster. And I nearly fainted at the broad, dependable back in the final frame." Se-jin couldn't help but feel a sense of pride as he straightened his back. Was it really that impressive? Experts are tentatively suggesting that the wolf in the footage might belong to the category of growth-type monster, or perhaps even a spirit beast. A growth-type monster. They used to exist in the past but have been extinct for a while now. As the name suggests, they were monsters capable of growth. If it's a wolf, it will progress from brown to gray, and then from gray to ebony. The expert's remarks often seem to be interrupted abruptly. It's indeed a perplexing incident. If it's a monster like that, I think many would be tempted by the idea of being protected by it at least once. Now on to the next topic for this morning. Upon hearing the anchor's remarks, Se-jin blushed slightly and coughed in embarrassment. "It's quite mysterious. I was hunting wolves yesterday. Now I feel a bit regretful," he commented. "But wasn't that an ebony wolf?" someone interjected. "Even so. Aren't they all wolves?" Another voice chimed in from the line of waiting hunters. Glancing towards the source of the voices, Se-jin noted the intimidating aura emanating from the individuals, who appeared to be carrying bazookas on their backs. Feeling a bit intimidated himself, Se-jin hurriedly left the monster store. Exiting the store, he observed the bustling crowd on the road, filled with people going about their business. Observing the bustling scene around him, Se-jin couldn't shake off the thought of whether people were simply ignorant of the looming danger posed by the monsters. Despite living right next to the monster field in the Gangwon province, there was a distinct lack of concern evident in the faces of the passing crowd or the towering skyscrapers piercing the sky. The tallest building in the area, known as Eden, stood as the revered sanctuary of the knights. Considering the individuals bustling about, most were likely knights or hunters capable of taking down monsters on their own. Despite this, Se-jin couldn't help but release a heavy sigh, feeling the need to let out his pent-up frustration. Feeling aggrieved that others led ordinary lives while he faced unfair challenges alone, Se-jin couldn't dwell on his plight for long. With only 30 minutes left in his human form, he accepted his circumstances with resolve. As Se-jin attempted to head back to the monster field, he caught the sound of an outdoor advertisement playing on a billboard display. Thanks to his enhanced sense of hearing from his trait, he instinctively turned towards the source of the noise. The advertisement conveyed a determined message. Even if the injury is severe, even if my limbs are broken and unusable, I will continue to fight. He expressed his motives clearly. I'm not pursuing wealth or honor. I'm fighting for the people out there. The broadcast showed images of a knight covered in blood, appearing to have just thwarted a monster attack. With his sincere gaze, strong jawline, and blonde hair, even Se-jin recognized this renowned knight. Renowned as the most sought-after figure in mass media and frequent guest on numerous talk shows, Knight Kim In-soo was often hailed as a hero with the trait the savior of the light. He introduced himself as Kim In-soo, a mid-tier knight from the Gaebyok Knights Order, translating Gaebyok to Genesis for clarity. As Se-jin watched the advertisement promoting the Knights Order, featuring Kim In-soo's face overlaid with the Order's crest, he felt a mix of bitterness and emptiness. Comparing his own trait to Kim In-soo's, he couldn't help but notice the stark differences. With a heavy heart, he sighed deeply, trying to ease the ache within before sadly walking away. Heading towards the remote and majestic mountain peak shrouded in fog and clouds, the Monster Field, was Se-jin's destination. Despite its inherent danger, it was a place where Se-jin felt strangely at ease, almost like a homecoming, swiftly dispelling the familiar waves of negativity that washed over him whenever he ventured outdoors. Se-jin made his way back to his cave, a somewhat respectable abode. There, he began to devise a new strategy. With his newfound status as a gray wolf, he could venture farther afield for hunting. However, the inherent danger of such excursions remained a significant concern. Despite reaching trait level 3 and transitioning from a brown wolf to a gray one, the monsters in the low-tier hunting ground still posed formidable challenges. In addition to the gray wolves, the area was inhabited by powerful creatures like orc warriors, skeleton soldiers, and trolls, each surpassing the strength of a gray wolf. These wolves were classified as low-tier creatures due to their ability to survive in the hunting ground, mainly attributed to their formation of large hunting packs. Se-jin couldn't help but wish for the evolution of his orc form as well. Given that only the brown wolf form evolved, it suggested that each of his forms, orc, wolf, and goblin, had distinct criteria or conditions for evolution. Evolution into an orc warrior would have allowed Se-jin to maintain his hunting strategy for brown wolves without difficulty. However, his gray wolf form now boasted a higher physical strength stat compared to his orc form, presenting a challenge. Realizing he needed to hunt in his wolf form, Se-jin cleared his mind of worries and decided to take action. Sitting and overthinking wouldn't solve anything. He rose from his spot and left the cave, heading out to assess the situation firsthand. In the low-tier hunting ground, the danger was palpable, far surpassing that of the lowest-tier regions. The gray wolves here, with their menacing growls and wild eyes, were in a league of their own compared to the docile brown wolves. Se-jin's current gray wolf form was much larger in size, giving him an advantage. Se-jin observed with dismay as 6 fierce gray wolves attacked and savagely tore apart an orc warrior. Witnessing the brutal scene, he felt neither enjoyment nor admiration. Disheartened, he decided to change direction and seek another path. Se-jin heard unsettling sounds akin to dogs tearing into a toy and a desperate scream from behind him. Though relieved he wasn't their target, it provided only a small comfort. After a moment's contemplation, he proceeded towards the outskirts of the low-tier hunting ground. Due to the risk posed by water sources attracting monsters and creating dangerous zones, weaker low-tier creatures often inhabited outer regions far from such areas. This was especially true for group-dwelling creatures like goblins. Confirming his suspicions, Se-jin's gaze intensified with a wicked grin spreading across his face. In the distance, a flickering bonfire illuminated a rustic village composed of simple huts. With determination, he made his way towards it. In this low-tier hunting ground, Se-jin stumbled upon a village of goblins known for their expertise in medicine and witchcraft. Despite their weak physical abilities, he remained vigilant. He understood the potential dangers, from poisoned concoctions if dealing with medicinal goblins, to curses if confronting those practicing witchcraft. Protection against these attacks proved challenging, leading hunters and knights to avoid higher-ranked goblins at all costs. Amidst these thoughts, Seijin noticed two green-skinned goblins, one adorned with intricate tattoos. Identifying one as the elite goblin, Seijin discerned their occupation as medicine practitioners. His acute sense of smell confirmed the presence of herbs. Shortly after, the two goblins engaged in a farewell ritual before parting ways. Observing the approaching elite goblin, Seijin swiftly crouched down in the tall grass, concealing himself. The goblin, adorned with tattoos and carrying binoculars and shoes, appeared to be on a scouting or herb-gathering expedition. As the elite goblin approached, Seijin's heart raced with anticipation. With each step the creature took, Seijin's muscles tensed, his senses heightened. With bated breath, he prepared to spring into action, his body poised to strike at the opportune moment. Goblins, especially elite ones, were known for their cunning and vigilance. To capture one, Seijin needed to proceed with caution and remain highly vigilant. As anticipated, the elite goblin halted just before reaching the trap, detecting the subtle signs of danger in the surroundings. Without hesitation, Seijin leaped into action, springing towards the elite goblin. Despite the distance, he charged forward with immense speed, resembling a relentless force of nature. However, he soon realized that the goblin was slightly beyond his initial reach, and to exacerbate matters, the creature had regained its composure, making the capture more challenging. In a surprising turn of events, the elite goblin brandished a primitive blowgun, aiming directly at Seijin. Despite its serene appearance, it displayed no signs of fear, living up to its elite title. The tattoos adorning its body hinted at a deeper significance. Frustrated and determined, Seijin was even more desperate than the goblin in this tense encounter. Driven by a potent mix of heartache and fear, Seijin's desperation surged, propelling him beyond the physical constraints of his wolf form. With the ferocity of a gray tempest, he lunged forward, sinking his fangs into the goblin's neck before it could retaliate. In a moment of triumph, an alert window appeared, signaling his victory. Seijin gained a new skill called Whirlwind Dash, triggered by pushing past his physical limits while running. This skill instantly boosts his running speed and can be utilized even in his human form. However, it can only be safely activated twice a day, with excessive use leading to physical strain. As Seijin snapped the elite goblin's neck, his attention was momentarily diverted by a pop-up notification. With the monster's blood trickling into his mouth, another notice appeared before him. Achievement unlocked. Goblin's traditions, inheriting memories. Consumed the blood of a medic-specialized goblin. In the midst of the battle, he achieved a milestone by absorbing the memories and traditions of the fallen goblin. While in either goblin or human form, the host can freely utilize the elite goblin's medicinal knowledge and concoction skills. Seijin briefly wondered if this was beneficial, but given his current situation in the heart of enemy territory, he couldn't spare the time to contemplate this new ability. The commotion caused by a beast's hunt alerted a pack of goblins, who were now heading in Seijin's direction. Sensing their intense killing intent, Seijin fled without looking back. The air behind Seijin filled with poison darts fired by the irate goblins, but his speed as a grey wolf was far too swift for them to catch him. Later, the sight of a grey wolf shaking its hips excitedly with an elite goblin in its mouth, heading home through the lowest-tier hunting ground, could be described as somewhat endearingly humorous. During his trot, Seijin suddenly heard a faint pained whimper. He carefully set the goblin down and perked up his ears to listen closely. The sound was weak and could fade away at any moment, but it was definitely there. The moaning was clearly from a person in trouble. Without hesitation, Seijin picked up the dead goblin and dashed toward the sound. After running at full speed for about a minute, he found a gravely injured individual lying in the thick grass. The sight before him was too gruesome to bear. He averted his gaze. The torn abdomen revealed glimpses of intestines, blood pooling crimson on the ground. Despite the severity of the injury, the woman, though clearly in agony, clung to life. As her consciousness slipped away, she continued to vocalize her agony, her clenched fists betraying her struggle to accept the looming threat. A familiar sound resonated in Seijin's ears, revealing the woman's identity as an elf, akin to humans, and her occupation as a knight. She was the daughter of the master of the Raven Knights Order, renowned as the most formidable knights order in South Korea. On the brink of becoming the youngest knight ever to reach the highest tier, some speculated she could potentially become the nation's representative. Many also acclaimed her as the most beautiful female knight in the country. Her name, Kim Yu-rin. Despite the perilous edge she teetered on, the assertions of Yurin's exceptional beauty held true. Even in the face of imminent danger, her remarkable allure remained steadfast. Yet thoughts of her striking beauty and revered personality were set aside for the moment. Survival took precedence over honor and glory. Se-jin swiftly disposed of the fallen elite goblin before assuming the form of an orc. Despite her delicate appearance, she felt as light as a feather in her towering orc guise. With the goblin carcass slung over his shoulder, he hastened towards his base, carrying a sense of urgency in his steps. He prayed fervently that he would reach his destination in time. Upon reaching the stone bed, Se-jin gently laid the woman down before assuming the form of a goblin. His diminutive stature required him to climb onto the bed in order to assess her injuries thoroughly. As if a veil had been lifted, he instantly discerned the potion required and its ingredients, as if it were a simple truth revealed. A dream-inducing grass, Zhejiang liquid, a scorpion grass, and a solitary low-grade mana stone, he muttered to himself. Se-jin wasted no time and began searching through the possessions of the deceased elite goblin. Fortunately, he discovered all the required ingredients neatly packed in the small rucksack, along with a mortar and pestle. As for the crucial low-grade mana stone needed for the potion, he happened to have a couple in his possession, alleviating any concerns. With everything at hand, Se-jin proceeded to follow the steps ingrained in his memory to concoct the potion. Carefully portioning out the ingredients, he dedicated himself to grinding them in the mortar with unwavering focus. Once the herbs had been pulverized to the desired consistency, he introduced the mana stone into the mix and continued grinding. It was then that the extraordinary occurred. The solid mana stone transformed into a luminous liquid, emitting a brilliant blue light upon mingling with the other ingredients. Although outwardly similar to common emergency medicine found in stores, the potency of this concoction would prove to be vastly superior. With his newfound expertise in herbalism, Se-jin could discern its distinct advantages. It appeared he had successfully crafted a potion of moderate grade. While conventional emergency medicine typically addressed surface wounds, Se-jin's miraculous potion not only healed deep injuries, but also replenished lost blood. Carefully, he applied the liquid to the woman's wounds before administering the remainder orally. Then, the miracle commenced. Gradually, the ghastly wound on her abdomen, revealing internal organs, began to regenerate before their eyes. Her deathly pallor, hinting at imminent demise, gradually gave way to a semblance of color returning to her cheeks. Phew! Se-jin exhaled a sigh of relief at the sight of the woman's recovery. Suddenly, several message windows appeared, obscuring his view. Condition cleared. A goblin's kindness. Administer aid to a minimum of 1 human being. All stats increase by 1. The host can now transform into the medical goblin form instead of the standard goblin form, with corresponding adjustments to related stats. Passive skill acquired, Goblin's craftsmanship. The host gains bonus attributes for all craftsmanship-related tasks, such as manufacturing, cooking, cleaning, and healing. Skill effectiveness diminishes in human form. Huh? Not only did the goblin form evolve, but he also acquired an additional skill. For an entire month, Se-jin labored tirelessly, hunting relentlessly until it felt as though his back might break in two. Despite his efforts, he couldn't even acquire a single skill during that time. Yet now, in a single day, he found himself bestowed with 3. Was the emotion he experienced at this moment one of deep joy, overwhelming panic, or profound emptiness? Whatever it was, Se-jin simply... He remained seated, motionless, his gaze fixed on the message windows. Meanwhile, without ceremony, a modest tattoo appeared on his forehead. The rain began, starting with light, sporadic drops that quickly escalated into a downpour, inundating the mountain streams and filling basins in the vicinity. "Looks like it's going to be a prolonged rain," he observed. After a prolonged gaze at the rain, Se-jin released a heavy sigh. He felt apprehensive. What explanation could he offer the woman now resting behind him? What excuse could he concoct to dissuade her from seeking retribution? As a highly ranked knight striving for the pinnacle of her profession, It would only take one blow to obliterate any trace of a low-ranked goblin like himself. Moan. However, he couldn't afford to dwell on his worries any longer. Despite it being less than an hour since the treatment, Kim Yu-rin emitted soft moans, hinting at an imminent return to consciousness. Startled by the sudden sound, the anxious goblin nearly leaped out of his skin and rushed to the woman's side. "Are you all—" A sudden realization halted his words before they could escape. A goblin shouldn't be speaking in the human tongue. After a moment of contemplation, he concluded it was unavoidable. After all, a typical goblin wasn't meant to rescue a human. The typically famished goblins weren't known for being selective when it came to satisfying their hunger. Twisting and turning, battling against the myriad pains and discomforts, Kim Yu-rin finally awakened. Through heavy, drowsy eyelids, she glimpsed a stone ceiling. After silently surveying the unfamiliar surroundings for a brief moment, she abruptly bolted upright. Regrettably, her sudden movement elicited a scream of pain from her still recovering body. Grimacing in agony, she gently touched her abdomen, which had been torn apart just over 30 minutes ago. Yet, something seemed amiss. It was undeniable that the claws of a saber-toothed tiger had ripped a portion of her stomach. The lingering, excruciating pain felt undeniably real. However, to her surprise, her abdomen felt completely normal to the touch, as if nothing had happened. "How are you feeling?" Suddenly, a man's voice broke the silence. Yu-rin breathed a sigh of relief and turned towards the origin of the voice. In a moment of desperation, she resorted to using an additional teleport scroll she had packed as a precaution, noticing that the others weren't functioning for some unknown reason. However, even that proved futile, as it transported her to an unexpected location, leaving her fearing for her life. Fortunately, a passerby happened to come to her aid. Before her stood a goblin. What's more, it was speaking in a human tongue. She intended to rise and express her gratitude to her savior in a traditional bow, but suddenly, her mind felt as though it was plunging into a void. The goblin before her continued to speak, but she couldn't comprehend any of it. In fact, her mind seemed to reject it outright. What? What in the world? Convinced that she must still be experiencing the lingering effects of trauma, she tightly shut her eyes and reopened them. Yet the scene before her remained unchanged. She rubbed her eyes and looked again. Regardless of her actions, the situation persisted. "What's happening? Am I losing my mind?" She uttered the words dazedly, unable to contain her bewilderment. "Nope, I'm real." Se-jin, too, felt a twinge of frustration. Unfortunately, goblins had a rather limited ability to construct coherent sentences. Even the most undesirable and seemingly useless characteristics were starting to reflect reality, it appeared. "Wow, it actually spoke. Perhaps I'm already dead?" Yu-rin covered her face with both hands and reclined on the stone bed. It would be a while before she could fully come to terms with her present circumstances. Facing Yu-rin's incredulous stares, Se-jin exerted himself to persuade her. One wrong move and he'd be facing imminent danger. Se-jin's narrative was straightforward yet convincing. His tale recounted a departure from the norm since birth, portraying himself as more intelligent and distinct from typical goblins. Disillusioned by the deceitful nature of his kin, he fled and encountered a hunter. Despite imperfections, he acquired proficiency in human language and behavior under the hunter's tutelage. Regrettably, the hunter met his demise in an unfortunate incident thereafter. While not the most intricate or flawless explanation, Kim Yu-rin didn't scrutinize his words too closely, thankfully. Her receptiveness stemmed partly from gratitude toward her savior, regardless of his goblin status, and partly from the lack of understanding regarding the daily lives of various monsters. Considering the existence of monsters capable of assuming human form, it seemed plausible that some could also speak human languages. "So that's the story. Anyway, thank you for rescuing me." With a relaxed demeanor, Yu-rin affectionately tousled his head, offering a weak smile. Though her gesture was gentle, Se-jin's body tensed up. Amused by his reaction, Yu-rin let out a light giggle. "Haha, you're quite peculiar, UK." Despite her attempt at humor, her body's condition prevented her from laughing freely. She winced in pain, clutching her abdomen as her face contorted. Swiftly, Se-jin administered another dose of the pre-made potion, which alleviated pain and promoted healing. "Should I drink this?" Observing Seijin's affirmative nod, Yurin smiled and eagerly consumed the potion. Wow! Yurin exclaimed in pleasant surprise almost immediately. As if by magic, all of her pain vanished completely, as if it had never existed. You're quite talented, aren't you? She beamed warmly and resumed affectionately patting the head of the goblin before her. It seemed to enjoy the gesture, she noted. Thank you. Truly, from the bottom of my heart, I owe this to you. To knights engaged in constant battles against monsters, goblins were merely unpleasant reminders they wished to erase from their memories. For human knights without resistance to poisons and curses, dealing with these elements proved exceedingly challenging. The unsightly appearance of goblins only exacerbated their negative perception. However, for Kim Yurin at this moment, the fact that a creature identified as a goblin stood before her held no significance whatsoever. This unexpectedly intelligent goblin displayed kindness, which Kim Yurin found rather endearing. Huh? While absent-mindedly patting the goblin's head, the bracelet encircling her arm abruptly began to vibrate. It appeared that the order was attempting to reach her, presumably concerned about her prolonged absence following the conclusion of her assignment. Yes, my assignment! Her assignment had regrettably ended in failure. Additionally, she could have faced a fate of unimaginable, gruesome demise, yet thanks to her unbelievably fortunate encounter with this goblin, she managed to defy her fate. Now, this unexpected meeting presented her with a new opportunity. An investigation will uncover the evidence left behind by those who tampered with the teleport scrolls, including the two knights, Yu Jong-yun and Kim Sa-rang. It's reasonable to assume that the entire second team was involved in this matter. In a little over 2 years, Kim Yurin's father, Kim Hyun-suk, would be required to relinquish his role as Master of the Knight's Order as his term comes to a close. Surprisingly, the frontrunner to succeed him was not the current Vice Master, Oh Jong-hyuk, but rather Kim Yurin herself. The current scenario had reached a critical juncture, with two factions emerging, one backing Yurin and the other supporting the discontented Vice Master. Behind the scenes, these groups were locked in clandestine power struggles. The events that transpired today could be attributed to the ramifications of these ongoing conflicts. Was it necessary for them to resort to such base behavior, akin to animals, simply because they felt pressured by the looming deadline of her rank advancement ceremony next month? Yurin fumed with anger, clenching her teeth in frustration. The 6 individuals who callously deserted her at the entrance of a cave inhabited by a formidable 40-year-old saber-toothed tiger, a creature so formidable that even a highly ranked knight would struggle to face it alone. Additionally, the enigmatic figures behind the tampering with 7 teleport scrolls, her mana-enhanced armor, and her weapons at the crucial moment remained shrouded in mystery. Thank you. Thanks to you, it seems I can deal with all the problems at once. She had to suppress her boiling anger, saving it for another day. Kim Yurin smiled gently as she continued to pat the goblin's head, then spoke softly into the bracelet. Upper-tier knight Kim Yurin will return. Yurin paused briefly, casting a swift glance at the goblin before breaking into another soft smile and amending her message. No, I'll return in approximately 3 hours. The rain is too heavy, and a landslide has blocked the cave exit. During those 3 hours, Seijin and Yurin engaged in extensive conversation. The dynamics of their interaction were evident, with each assuming their respective roles. Due to the limitations in forming coherent sentences as a goblin, Seijin naturally assumed the role of listener, while Yurin took on the role of the speaker. Sigh. How is it possible that I've never experienced a romantic relationship in all my 27 years of life? But it's not just me who faces this issue. Seijin marveled at Yurin's unexpectedly lively and talkative demeanor, quite different from the cold and distant impression he had formed from her TV interviews. He found it remarkable how approachable she appeared now compared to her public persona. Honestly, I love receiving simple and adorable gifts like cute dolls, but the guys only see my knight persona and end up giving me useless presents like knives, swords, and magic armaments. How am I supposed to go on a date with guys like that? And then when I reject them due to their mistakes, they spread rumors. However, Seijin felt content at the moment. Who else could have the opportunity to hear the private frustrations of Korea's most renowned female knight like this? For the next 3 hours, he attentively listened to her grievances, offering appropriate responses and feigning ignorance when encountering difficult words. In reality, he was preoccupied with studying her features. Even after 3 hours of observation, he remained captivated by her beauty, which surpassed all previous accolades. As if on cue, the rain ceased and the sunlight illuminated the sky as the promised 3 hours drew to a close. I'll come to visit again when I have the time. It might be a bit overdue, but I assure you I'll repay you properly when I get the chance. As their brief encounter neared its conclusion, Yurin hesitated, glancing back at him several times. It appeared that she was dissatisfied with the amount of gratitude expressed towards her savior and felt remorseful about it. However, Seijin didn't share the same sentiment. Instead, he was overwhelmed with gratitude to the point of feeling ecstatic. Yurin offered him a saber-toothed tiger fang as compensation. Demonstrating the caliber of a knight of her standing, she didn't simply fall victim to the monster, but actually succeeded in breaking one of its fangs herself. Without his recent knowledge of goblins, he might have dismissed the fang as mere valuable loot. However, now it held a different significance altogether. The fang served as both a mana stone and an essential ingredient for crafting medicine. With the right combination of ingredients, he could produce at least 10 bottles of potions, each with distinct effects and properties. Upon a hasty review of the potential applications, he realized he could create a potion to significantly boost his constitution, thereby enhancing his hunting abilities, or replicate the potion he administered to Kim Yurin and market it to the public. The potential uses seemed limitless. Furthermore, he realized that he wouldn't need to concern himself excessively with drawing attention if he ventured into potion making and sales. Typically, as long as privately brewed potions were proven safe and received approval for consumption, they could be sold while still maintaining a level of anonymity. In essence, I could potentially earn at least $440,000. As long as a potion possessed a healing effect, even basic emergency medicine, which wasn't regarded as a full-fledged potion, could fetch $175 per bottle. He recalled a news report mentioning a test comparing medicines created by a human, a dark elf, and a goblin using identical ingredients, where the goblin-produced potion emerged as the most effective. Realizing his own identity as a goblin, and a capable one at that, he envisioned earning sufficient funds to purchase equipment and even a desirable residence in Gangwon province. Thank you. Stay safe. With a contented expression, Seijin bid farewell to Kim Yurin as the sun cast a warm glow upon them. The pleasant weather seemed particularly fitting for farewells. Yes, please take care of yourself too. Avoid dangerous places. Yurin's voice quivered with emotion, her heart heavy as she beheld the goblin's cheerful expression. Over the past 3 hours, she had shared her innermost thoughts with this creature, forging an unexpected bond. However, she couldn't afford to prolong the farewell. With resolve, Yurin stiffened her expression and forced herself to walk away, despite the reluctance in her steps. Yeah, you too. Hearing the familiar voice, she knew that the brief but meaningful encounter with the intelligent and compassionate creature would be a cherished memory for the rest of her days. A week after his unexpected meeting with Kim Yurin, Seijin used the fang she gave him to create 4 batches of potions. He made 1 potion to strengthen the drinker's constitution, which he kept for his own hunts. The other 3, which had healing and regenerative effects, he decided to sell. Tired of living in a cave and now able to maintain his human form for 80 minutes daily due to his energy manipulation stat reaching 8, Seijin decided it was time to buy a house near Gangwon province. As expected of a place known as the paradise for the monster-related industry, land prices near Gangwon province were second only to those in Seoul. Even if Seijin worked tirelessly, it would still take a long time before he could afford a house there. Seijin stood before an alchemy house, a rare establishment with a strong herbal scent and the sound of bubbling chemicals. These unique buildings, fewer than 3 in any large city, were the only places where potion grades were verified and distributed by alchemists. Despite the rarity of alchemy houses, Seijin, who lived in Gangwon province, found it relatively easy to locate one. These establishments continued to thrive due to their intrinsic connection to the existence of monsters. The author sure enjoys making things difficult with convoluted writing. Despite wearing the robe favored by alchemists and having the hood pulled up to blend in, Seijin's curious surveying of the surroundings clearly showed he was a complete novice in these matters. "Can I help you with something?" an employee asked politely, noticing Seijin wandering around. "I'm here to sell some potions I've made, but I've never sold any before and don't have any reputation. Is that possible?" Seijin responded. "Ah, yes, of course," the employee replied. "Would you follow me this way, please?" the employee asked. Regardless of the region or nation, alchemists were always far fewer in number than magicians and were consequently considered highly valuable. Despite Seijin's novice aura, his demeanor and words indicated he was a genuine alchemist, so the employee remained courteous while guiding him. Seijin quickly found a nearby office chair and sat down, nervously watching the time. Soon, the male employee returned and sat across from him with a document. This is the application form. The verification process will begin once you write down the name of the potion and its effects here, the employee explained. Once the potion is verified to be free of side effects and its medicinal efficacy is confirmed, it will be assigned a grade based on its strength. After that, it can be sold on the market. Potions crafted by alchemists were always in high demand, far exceeding the available supply. Common emergency potions sold in monster stores, mass-produced with 10th grade mana stones, couldn't compare in performance or quality to those crafted by skilled alchemists. Potions from renowned alchemists were so popular that buyers often had to reserve them well in advance. The focus wasn't on the alchemist's identity, but rather on their potions, which they believed should speak for their skill due to their preference for anonymity. The alchemists dedicated themselves to naming and perfecting their potions, pouring their skills and passion into each creation while maintaining anonymity. Rumors circulated that renowned alchemists dealt directly with knights masters and corporate CEOs. Seijin calmly checked the anonymous box on his application form. The male employee's body trembled slightly from shock as he glanced at the note Seijin was writing about the potion's healing and regeneration effects. Noticing the employee's reaction, Seijin shot him a questioning look. The employee, scratching the back of his neck, awkwardly apologized. The employee explained that regeneration is a rare effect, asking if Seijin meant regenerative recovery of wounds. He mentioned that even minor regenerative effects could elevate a potion to a lower mid-tier grade. Additionally, he noted that the potion also had healing effects, laughing lightly. The employee remarked that, without side effects, the potion would surely be graded as high. He added that many knights' orders and hospitals were worried about the recent shortage of high-grade items, making this a welcome development. Seijin responded with a slight smirk, confident that the potion had no side effects. The skills of an elite goblin, capable of combining ingredients in saber-toothed tiger fang powder with nanogram precision, were beyond perfection. "I've completed the form," Seijin said. "Thank you. Have you brought a sample of the potion, just in case?" the employee asked as he handed over the form. "Rather than a sample, I have the finished product here," Seijin said, pulling a glass bottle from his robe pocket. The potion inside emitted a clear blue light, causing the area around the bottle to glow softly. The male employee was rendered speechless. After a long moment of awe at the potion's indescribable beauty, the employee could only swallow hard. It was impossible for a novice alchemist to create a potion with both healing and regeneration effects, yet there was no doubt that this clear blue liquid with its brilliant glow was the real thing. Even without testing or grading, it was clear this was the healing and regeneration potion. Please, wait a moment. The male employee quickly realized it was beyond his qualifications to handle. A potion with healing effects had a higher value than other varieties. Clearly, the potion would be essential for those battling monsters, hunters, knights, and even civilians in regular roles. "Sorry, but I don't have much time," Seijin said, standing up to leave. The employee, realizing the urgency, went into a panic, grabbing Seijin's shoulders and making him sit back down. Wait, just a moment, please," the employee pleaded urgently. In reality, alchemy houses were highly competitive and stress-filled environments, driven by the relentless pursuit of strong financial results. To secure better financial support, the 20 or so alchemy houses across the country were locked in fierce competition. The reputation of each house and the origin of their potions were crucial factors in achieving top results. When a high-quality potion became available, the house that sold it gained a strategic advantage in the inevitable disputes among knights' orders and other institutions vying for the potion. This was why the employee was determined to keep Seijin there, but Seijin remained resolute in his response. "You only need a few drops for verification, so I'll leave 3. I can return later after the testing is complete," Seijin said. "Yes, that's true, but..." "Wait, did you already stamp your jijang on the form?" the employee asked, referring to the required finger stamp. Alchemists who wished to remain anonymous used jijangs for identification. Although employees might not know the alchemist's name or face, they could still identify the potions brewed by that person. "Yes, I did," Seijin confirmed. "I saw the blue-colored number 30437 spreading out on the form." The number indicated that Se-jin's application was the 30,437th for this particular alchemy house. With fewer than 1,000 types of potions on the market, it was clear how many aspiring alchemists had faced disappointment during the grading and verification processes. "Yes, in that case, please promise to visit us later and return," the employee pleaded loudly, bowing deeply. The shout echoed through the interior, drawing attention, but for those familiar with the alchemy house's behind-the-scenes operations, it was just another typical day at work. "Ah, yes," Se-jin responded. "Do you have a sample bottle ready?" Se-jin asked. The employee quickly searched for a sample bottle, and Se-jin left the alchemy house after placing exactly 3 drops of his potion into the small glass container. The downtown area of the city was bustling with various sounds. Amid the bustling sounds of the city, Se-jin struggled to adjust after the quiet of the mountains. Among the clamor, one voice stood out distinctly. "Knight Kim Yu-rin, there are only 2 weeks left until your highest-tier knight ascension ceremony." The voice was coming from a wrist-mounted hologram TV in an electronics store, showing a reporter interviewing Kim Yu-rin. Kim Yu-rin responded, "Not too bad." The reporter replied, "Is that so? Ah, ha ha, of course, ha ha ha." The reporter awkwardly laughed, trying to ease the tension from Kim Yu-rin's brief answer. Se-jin smirked as he watched, understanding that her discomfort might stem from a fear of being on camera. The reporter continued, "So, let's move on to the next question. Ah, yes, after being voted no," the reporter began, "as the most beautiful knight according to the male counterparts, can you tell us how you feel?" He lost his train of thought, captivated by Kim Yu-rin's clear, unwavering gaze. Although it was an ordinary look, her striking beauty made it seem extraordinary. The reporter stammered, "Obviously it's not bad, right? Wait, what was I—" After a brief moment of awkwardness, he regained his composure and shifted to another question. "Ah, yes, that's right." The reporter asked, "Could Miss Yu-rin share what qualities she looks for in an ideal man? Many popular male knights have chosen you as their ideal partner." Kim Yu-rin paused to think deeply before breaking into a grin. Yu-rin's brief but dazzling smile brightened not just the projection, but the entire gray street around the store. The reporter was momentarily speechless as Yu-rin continued to smile. "I prefer a man who is like a goblin," she said. The reporter asked, "What do you mean by that?" Yu-rin added, "Except he should be intelligent and kind." In other words, a goblin who is both kind and skilled, the reporter thought. He interpreted her response as implying there might not be an ideal man for her. Yes, of course, thank you for your honest answers. As expected from the youngest, highest-tier knight, your criteria for an ideal partner are indeed very unique," the reporter said. Se-jin, however, stood watching Kim Yu-rin's image with a broad smile for a long time before finally entering the shop. "Welcome, Tilda," the shopkeeper greeted. Se-jin asked, "How much for that wrist hologram TV? And will it work deep inside a cave in the mountains?" While employees at the alchemy houses were often specialists who had abandoned their alchemy pursuits, the role of manager could only be filled by actual alchemists. An alchemist needed to have at least 3 potions listed as bestsellers to either open an alchemy house or become an apprentice to a master. Hazeline, a dark elf alchemist who became an alchemy house manager at just 31, was now studying the sample potion left by the mysterious visitor earlier that day with an unreadable expression. Hazeline muttered to herself, "Why am I even examining this? It doesn't need verification. It's at least mid-grade and could be high-grade. It's been a long time since I've seen a potion this bright and clear." "And you sent the brewer away claiming it needed testing?" The employee replied, "My apologies, I have no excuses." Hazeline said, "Well, at least with him leaving the sample, the chance of us doing business together is quite high, so no need to apologize. By the way, what's the potion called?" The employee hesitantly checked the application form and after some hesitation read aloud, "The potion is named A Goblin's Kindness." On an ordinary afternoon, Se-jin visited the monster store to deliver monster materials. Suddenly, a government official asked to see his hunter license. "Here, please take this newly issued hunter license," Se-jin said, handing it over. After the official reviewed the new card, he noticed new words had been added to the front. "The Heavenly Gifted Hunter." "What is this?" Se-jin asked, tilting his head slightly. "Ah, that's called a title," the official explained. "It's a simplified way to describe your current abilities," the official said. "Eh?" Se-jin responded. "Didn't you bring in the carcasses of 23 monsters in your first month as a hunter, Mr. Kim Se-jin? Since you met the requirements, a prefix was added to your title. Heavenly Gifted reflects your exceptional talent. It's a rare and impressive title, the official explained. You can't receive this title if you've been a hunter for more than 6 months. Additionally, the Knight's Orders actually prefer this title over ones like the Seasoned Pro or the Distinguished Individual, the official added. The government official explained the title with great enthusiasm, but Se-jin, showing little interest, lightly nodded. For him, with only 80 minutes a day in his human form, the information wasn't particularly useful. Thanks, I guess, Se-jin said. Ah, wait, the official exclaimed as Se-jin turned to leave. She quickly stood up and lightly grasped his sleeve. As Se-jin frowned and looked at the official with a questioning expression, she nervously handed him a paper, her cheeks reddening. Please take a look at this, she said bashfully. Huh? Se-jin wondered if the official was trying to sell him something. Despite his confusion, he found her shy demeanor and the way she twisted her body endearing. With 66 minutes remaining, Se-jin asked aloud as he examined the paper. At the top, it read, Public Recruitment for Hunters by Pabek Knight's Order, followed by fine print detailing the specifics. Pabek is a government-owned Knight's Order with its headquarters nearby, and they are currently seeking capable hunters. While only mid-tier or higher ranks are typically eligible, your title, Mr. Se-jin, will likely be favorably considered. Additionally, the plan is to upgrade your ranking to at least low mid-tier soon, the official explained. Se-jin met the required hunting experience, the official noted. To clarify, a low mid-tier hunter is defined as someone who can hunt a low-tier monster with the help of 2 others with similar skills. In contrast, a low mid-tier knight is someone who can handle more than 3 low-tier monsters alone at the same time. That's why Se-jin was exceptionally notable to the official. While most hunters traveled in groups of 3 or more, he was unique for always going out alone and returning alone. Are you interested in this opportunity? The official asked. You can apply right here and now. I'm sure Mr. Se-jin will be accepted immediately. Hunters with the Heavenly Gifted title have historically been recruited by renowned Knight's Orders even before their first year of activity. Some even changed their professions and became knights, the official added, growing slightly desperate and gripping Se-jin's sleeve more firmly. Though Se-jin was initially set to decline, he felt a pang of regret when he saw the official's round, clear, and sparkling eyes. It was a rare sight for him, a woman actively pursuing him, something he had never experienced before. Se-jin reflected that a man's worth is often judged by his abilities. Seeing a charming, well-paid government employee being so assertive was a novel and somewhat challenging experience for him. It felt like stepping into a mystical new world. If it weren't for his trait of being a monster, Se-jin wouldn't have had the opportunity, but he couldn't boast about his achievements due to his condition as a monster. Is that so? Se-jin's lips curled into an indecipherable smile. The official, mistakenly believing the conversation was going well, smiled happily and continued with her pitch. Yes, of course. Heh. By the way, there's a favor I'd really like to ask you regarding this. At that moment, Se-jin's intuition, sharpened by his difficult past, went off like an alarm. It warned him to stop listening and leave as soon as possible. So, if you get recruited, could you mention my name, Kim Hyejin, as your recommender? Wait, just a moment. Mr. Se-jin. Before she could finish, Se-jin was already leaving the monster store, moving swiftly, almost at a run. Hunting became much easier after Se-jin's goblin form transformed from what he had previously seen as a burden into a highly valuable asset, all thanks to the body-strengthening potion. With the potion's effects, his orc form now possessed strength comparable to that of an orc warrior. However, with a steel mace purchased from the local monster store, Se-jin found that his destructive power was more than enough to overwhelm an orc warrior who only used a crude weapon. Although his enhanced Grey Wolf form also showed increased destructive power, the significant boost in speed made it difficult for him to control. Therefore, until he became more accustomed to the changes, he chose to hunt in a form that resembled a humanoid shape, his orc form. His battle cry, which had erupted instinctively, was a result of the intense fighting spirit he felt. In the heat of battle, he felt like an invincible warrior from ancient legends, and the overwhelming surge of madness became nearly unbearable without releasing a roar. But his opponent didn't respond at all. As expected, the creature, its body entirely made of bleached bones, was not much different from a corpse reanimated by a lich using mana. The dull-bladed scimitar clashed with the steel mace, creating a tremendous explosion of noise and a powerful shockwave that shook the forest. The collision shattered both the skeleton soldier's skull and scimitar into pieces. Amidst the scattered white bones, the orc stood proudly, relishing the taste of his victory. Condition complete, required experience points attained, trait level increased to 4. All stats rise by 1, with adjustments to those related to forms. Seijin's happiness doubled as he silently observed the message window. However, his joy was fleeting. The tall grasses rustled, and footsteps left impressions on the ground. Seijin sensed nearby people. They were neither too close nor too far, so he quickly assumed his human form, as his survival depended on it. In reality, the greatest threat to Seijin in the monster field was not the monsters, but other humans. Aside from trolls, Seijin could generally handle the other monsters in this low-tier hunting ground. However, the real danger came from the knights, whose powers were far beyond common sense. A single mistake or being spotted by one of them could mean immediate disaster. That's why Seijin always kept all 5 of his senses at peak awareness. His clothing during monster forms differed from his human form, but fortunately they changed seamlessly with him, allowing him to maintain his disguise effectively. Just as Seijin was about to collect the mana stone from the fallen skeleton, a group of 4 hunters emerged from the bushes. They scrutinized his attire briefly before greeting him upon noticing the mace he was carrying. "Ah, hello there." Hunters, typically not adept in close combat due to their lack of physical power, favored mana guns over melee weapons. As a result, they mistook Seijin for a knight, particularly given the loud noise from earlier, which led them to assume he was at least a low-tier knight. "Haha, what a coincidence! It's quite rare to encounter other humans in a monster field," the leader of the party said with a friendly smile. When Seijin remained silent and simply stared, the hunter quickly pulled out a business card and handed it over. "We're hunting Team 1 from the Taeryung Knights Order. My name is Kim Ji-han, an upper mid-tier ranked hunter," the leader introduced himself, noting the gold-inked upper mid-tier on the expensive-looking business card he handed over. "These are my team members, though they are still inexperienced." It appeared that a veteran hunter, employed by the Knights Order, had brought along a group of promising trainees for a demonstration hunt to educate them. "I see," Seijin replied. "Yeah, ha ha ha," the leader responded with a chuckle. Kim Ji-han, speaking in a friendly tone, commented on how his trainees had managed to reach lower mid-tier rankings within 2 years, but were still inexperienced. He then asked Seijin, "If it's not too much trouble, may I ask which Knights Order you're affiliated with?" He believed establishing a friendly connection with a knight could be beneficial for him in the long run. Seijin, while putting the business card into his pocket, clarified, "I think there's been a misunderstanding. I'm not a knight." Kim Ji-han looked puzzled and tilted his head slightly at the unexpected response. His gaze then shifted to the scattered remains of the skeleton soldier on the ground, reflecting his confusion. To obliterate a skeleton so completely on his own and then claim he wasn't a knight left Kim Ji-han stunned. "So that means..." Seijin, smiling warmly, extended his hand and said, "I'm also a hunter, just a low tier." Kim Ji-han, still in disbelief, shook Seijin's hand while his expression remained one of astonishment. Kim Ji-han, still chuckling, said, "Ah, that must be a joke, right? Your sense of humor is quite something. But you know it's against the rules, right? A low-tier hunter isn't allowed to hunt alone in a low-tier hunting ground. If a low-tier hunter can handle monsters solo, they'd become a knight instead." "Ha ha ha." Seijin, with a slight smile, replied, "Ha ha. Is that so? But it's the truth." Seijin, now able to maintain his human form for 90 minutes thanks to his recent level up, knew that wasn't enough. He promptly took out his hunter license and showed it to Kim Ji-han. Kim Ji-han's eyes widened and his mouth dropped open in disbelief as he examined the license, noticing something astonishing on the card. Kim Ji-han's eyes widened further as he read the title on the hunter license. "The Heavenly Gifted?" he muttered in disbelief. This title was among the highest honors a hunter could receive, awarded to those who, within their first 6 months, could kill over 20 monsters in a single month. Those with the Heavenly Gifted title were typically scouted by major knights' orders, often transitioning from hunter to knight. Seijin's license reflected an impressive hunting record on its back, underscoring his exceptional talent. With a record of 23 monsters in a month, all self-dismantled and disposed of, Seijin's license was exceptionally impressive. Even though his rank was 2 tiers lower than Kim Ji-han's, Ji-han struggled to respond. As he continued examining the license, Jihan's eyes brightened upon noticing that the affiliation section was blank. Hunters typically pursued their quarry in one of two ways, either by forming temporary parties with other hunters or by joining a knight's order and working within a designated team, like Kim Jihan. However, choosing one method over the other wasn't always straightforward. Neither option was inherently better or worse. Many hunters preferred the first option of working solo because they disliked the constraints of a formal group environment and its associated rules, even if they had the skills to join a knight's order. Kim Jihan's eyes widened in surprise. "So, you're not affiliated with anyone yet?" Sejin replied, "Yeah, that's right. I prefer working alone and have no plans to join any group." Kim Jihan, with a confident smile, offered Sejin a new business card, this one from the Taeryung Knight's Order. Despite Sejin's firm stance, Kim Jihan seemed convinced of Sejin's potential. He reminded Sejin of his previous statements, acknowledging the earlier conversation. Kim Jihan noted that human minds are capable of changing over time. He pointed out that in their line of work as hunters, where life expectancy is already short, trying to go it alone might not be sustainable in the long run. While there are benefits to working solo, he emphasized the challenges it presents. Kim Jihan argued that missing out on the opportunity to participate in the fissure exploration was a significant loss. He explained that the fissure was a separate dimension existing between worlds, teeming with countless monsters. The only way to eliminate a fissure was to defeat all the monsters within it. Kim Jihan highlighted the substantial financial gain from erasing a fissure, which could range from at least $890,000 to over $9 million. He emphasized that participating in a fissure exploration, whether as a hunter or a knight, guaranteed not only significant fame and recognition, but also a notable increase in one's bank balance. He urged Sejin to reconsider the opportunity. Kim Jihan remarked that a heavenly gifted hunter could perform exceptionally well when paired with a knight. He then asked if Sejin had indeed defeated the skeleton soldier using a mace, expressing his disbelief since it seemed highly improbable for an ordinary person to defeat a low-tier monster alone. Sejin acknowledged that while the weapon was indeed high quality, his family members had naturally strong constitutions. Kim Jihan responded with a thoughtful, "Oh, if you say so." In a world where abilities like mana utilization and mana affinity were clearly categorized, those considered exceptional no longer had to adhere to the usual limitations that applied to the average person. Individuals with strong mana affinity could accumulate mana naturally just by breathing, eventually becoming extraordinarily powerful and fundamentally different from average citizens. While rare, such exceptionally gifted hunters did exist. These individuals, while possessing strong mana affinity, fell just short of becoming full knights due to their lack of mana utilization skills. As a result, many of them made a living as hunters. Despite this, their abilities were still highly coveted by ordinary people. Sejin agreed to consider the opportunity and then excused himself, noting that he was running out of time. With about 10 minutes remaining, Sejin felt it was somewhat overwhelming to continue interacting with others. Kim Jihan noted that if Sejin reconsidered, they would greatly appreciate a call. He emphasized that the Taeryung Knight's Order was renowned for treating all its members well, whether they were knights or hunters. Considering the Grey Wolf's attributes, Sejin's overall size didn't increase even as the trait level reached 4. However, his fierce and menacing aura now matched that of a great tiger. Hunting in wolf form became easier, and he no longer needed to rely on doping. Most low-tier monsters fell to a single surprise attack from Sejin. Sejin would quietly enter a thicket to conceal himself and wait for prey. When an animal entered his range, he would strike with such incredible speed that it left no trace, sinking his fangs into their necks with deadly precision. This method of hunting could be described as one hit, one kill. Sejin made effective use of his newly acquired active skill, Whirlwind Dash, which significantly simplified the task of catching at least 2 monsters a day. Today, he continued his search for prey in his wolf form, taking advantage of his exceptionally sensitive nose. This sense of smell was precise, providing clear indications of distance rather than vague impressions of proximity. The system provided Sejin with detailed information, such as southeastward 680 meters, humans, 3 presences. Thanks to this cheat system, he had managed to hunt over 10 monsters in the past 3 days. Noting the presence of humans again, Sejin recognized that encountering other hunters was common in low-tier areas compared to the lowest tier. With a look of dissatisfaction, the wolf slowly moved away from his current location. "Today's luck is good," Suddenly, a voice from another person reached Se-jin's ears as he ventured into the tall grass. The voice was very close, yet there were no scents in the air. Panicking, he quickly scanned the surroundings and detected a presence about 200 meters away. Se-jin considered running but deemed it too risky. Quickly deciding on a course of action, he shifted into his human form. It's a human. Fortunately, his quick thinking had kept him safe. As he steadied himself, he turned to face the source of the voice, discovering it was a party of two. One member of the party was a young girl, likely under the legal voting age, while the other was a large man dressed in an elaborate three-piece suit that seemed oddly out of place. Well, hello there, Tilda. The girl, Yu Se-jung, eyed Se-jin with curiosity before giving him a small nod and approaching him. My name is Yu Se-jung, a low-tier knight, she introduced herself. Yu Se-jung had bob-cut hair that framed her neck, a straight nose, and intelligent eyes. Despite her youthful appearance, her sophisticated and urbane demeanor suggested she was much more experienced. Ah, hello. As Se-jin reluctantly shook her hand, he confirmed to himself that he had made the right decision. As a knight, confronting Yu Se-jung in monster form would likely have been a cumbersome ordeal. Meeting her directly and parting on good terms was far more desirable. Yu Se-jung then introduced her companion. And this is Yun Do-han, a low-tier hunter. How do you do? It's nice to meet you. I'm Yun Do-han, a low-tier hunter, the man said. As Yun Do-han bowed his head, Se-jin's expression showed slight astonishment. Despite Yun Do-han's appearance and attire suggesting he might be a high-ranking knight, he turned out to be just a low-tier hunter. Were you in the middle of a hunt? Your stealth skill is impressive, and I don't see any special equipment on you, Se-jin remarked. Yu Se-jung assessed Se-jin from head to toe and complimented him softly. She understood that in the hunting field, networking and building connections were now considered more important than traditional affiliations, such as having attended the same school or coming from the same neighborhood. There was an unwritten rule that those seeking to make connections needed to have exceptional abilities. Unbeknownst to him, Se-jin had already met this young girl's initial criteria. Yes, it's important to eliminate all traces of yourself when tracking prey, just as you've removed your scents. Se-jin noticed her bracelet and mentioned it, causing her to emit a soft gasp. You have a keen eye, Yu Se-jung said. By the way, I haven't caught your name yet. Ah, my name is Kim Se-jin. I'm a low-tier hunter, he replied. Immediately after he spoke, her body tensed briefly. With a slightly uncertain tilt of her head, she began questioning him with a noticeably colder tone. Is it advisable for a low-tier to move alone like this? Yu Se-jung asked. I'm still alive, so yes, it's fine, Se-jin responded. Her initial interest vanished after his brief reply, and she gave him a curt nod. It was clear she had also mistaken him for a knight, as others had. Well, whatever. Continue with what you were doing, she said dismissively. Yu Se-jung dismissed him with a derisive snort and turned away. Se-jin frowned, wondering how someone so young could be so cold and calculating. He shook his head in disapproval and began to head in the opposite direction. However, he was halted by a message window that appeared before him, eastward, 500 meters. The message revealed a troll in a ravenous state. Oh, damn. The troll had a face resembling withered, cracked tree bark and could grow over 3 meters tall. Despite its massive size, it was capable of surprisingly agile movements. This type of monster was notorious for eliciting automatic curses from those who encountered it. Regardless of whether it was low-tier, mid-low-tier, mid-tier, or upper-mid-tier, the troll's characteristics were consistent across all levels. Although this troll was weaker than those found in other areas due to its presence in the low-tier hunting ground, the real concern was the ravenous state warning. Trolls were unusual because they rarely exhibited typical species-specific behaviors and habits. This made them a subject of interest for monster researchers, who sometimes referred to them as having individual personalities. Among these personalities, the ravenous state was the rarest and most troubling. As the name suggested, it indicated an extreme hunger for food. What set the ravenous state apart from other conditions was that trolls afflicted by it became stronger with each monster they consumed. Additionally, in the low-tier hunting ground, the troll's growth potential was unprecedented, making the situation even more dire. Given that the troll was the most powerful monster in the area and faced no threats to its growth, it could soon become strong enough to rival a mid-tier creature. Wait! After a moment of hesitation, Se-jin quickly ran toward Yu Se-jung and grabbed her shoulder. Despite her earlier attitude, Se-jin felt it was important to warn Yu Se-jung of the impending danger. What the? Hey, what's going on? Unaware of the threat, Yu Sejong slapped Sejin's hand off her shoulder in annoyance. "What's the problem?" the man beside her interjected. Despite his imposing build, Sejin wasn't intimidated by the man, who had earlier revealed himself as a low-tier hunter. Recognizing his own limitations, the man stepped back behind Yu Sejong with a feigned cough when Sejin glared at him. "Hey, what's the problem?" the man asked. "There's a monster up ahead. We need to evacuate," Sejin responded. Despite Sejin's urgent appearance and tone, Yu Sejong dismissed him coldly with another derisive snort. "Ha! Only a low-tier hunter like you would think of running away from a low-tier mon—" Her mocking words were cut short by a low, menacing growl. The troll's growl, oddly reminiscent of a wild animal, echoed as it charged toward its unsuspecting prey. Standing at a towering 3 meters, the creature's face bore the scars of burns, as if touched by eerie flames from the underworld. Its rugged, hill-like appearance made it seem almost part of the landscape. Suddenly halting, the troll scanned the area with its greedy, oppressive eyes, taking in the unexpected sight of the potential victims before it. Overcome by the sight of the terrifying troll, Sejin's eyes widened in shock and fear. At the same time, Yu Sejong slowly turned her head to see what loomed behind her. "Ah, F***ck," she muttered. When the monstrous face came into view, her reaction mirrored Sejin's earlier fright. Shaken out of his fear by Yu Sejong's sudden curse, Sejin briefly thought she was finally acting like a typical teenager. "Dohan oppa! Dohan oppa!" she called out using the affectionate term for an older male. Startled, Dohan quickly responded, I got it!" Yu Sejong urgently called out to the dazed Yun Dohan while drawing her sword from her hip. At that moment, Dohan suddenly prepared to run. "But we're in a low-tier area," he muttered, realizing the nearest military base with a knight capable of handling such a threat was far away. Yu Sejong dismissed the concern with a sharp remark. "He's not like a useless hunter like you, so don't worry, and you'll only get in my way, so step aside." Whether it was youthful ambition or reckless courage, she readied herself to face the troll alone, raising her sword with determination. At that moment, Yun Dohan suddenly dashed away, moving at near the speed of sound. Sejin immediately understood what had happened. Such an extraordinary movement could only be due to a trait. The troll, frustrated by Yun Dohan's sudden disappearance, growled more fiercely than before. Taking a deep breath, Yu Sejong steeled herself for the confrontation. As Yu Sejong focused, her sword began to glow with azure mana, channeling the well-known knight technique, the mana blade. However, Sejin realized that this wouldn't be enough against the troll. He also noticed the slight tremble in her slender arms as she held the sword, revealing her underlying fear. The slight tremble in Yu Sejong's arms was a clear sign that fear had already taken hold of her, which would likely lead to her defeat. Though Sejin wanted to help, he was unable to intervene without a weapon of his own. The steel mace Sejin had admired so much was currently resting in the corner of his cave, as he had planned to hunt as a wolf that day. Realizing he had no other options, Sejin prepared to flee when suddenly, condition complete, encountering an overwhelmingly stronger monster. The system announced, "The host has encountered a monster with nearly no chance of victory. All stats will increase by 1. The orc warrior form is now available, replacing the orc form. All stats for monster forms will be adjusted accordingly. The skill Warrior of Reversal has been unlocked." Note, the skill name is provisional and may change. The system detailed the active skill. Warrior of Reversal. Current skill level F, usable in all monster forms. For 5 minutes, strength increases by 200%, endurance by 100%, and pain resistance is enhanced. In human form, the duration is reduced to 1 minute. When activated in human form, stats will be based on the Orc Warrior form. The system noted, based on the current strength and endurance stats, the skill can be activated once within a 24-hour period. A new message window appeared. Owner, extra chapter tomorrow due to donations. Sejin's eyes darted around, trying to absorb all the information from the various message windows. At first glance, the update seemed impressive. However, the timing was terrible. Sejin couldn't even express his excitement about the unexpected evolution. That skill isn't bad at all. While the evolution from Orc form to Orc Warrior form was noteworthy, Sejin's focus was on the new skill, Warrior of Reversal. The skill was incredibly valuable, especially since it could be used in human form. True to its name, Warrior of Reversal had the potential to change any situation, including the current one. Seijin glanced at Yu Sejong, his expression troubled as he considered what to do about her. Despite Yu Sejong's outward show of confidence, she likely knew it was just bravado. Anyone could see that the troll was in a ravenous state, with drool visibly dripping from its mouth. Moreover, the troll appeared to be a low mid-tier threat, given its enormous size and the menacing aura it radiated. In theory, a low-tier knight should be able to handle a low-tier monster alone. Yu Sejong's skills were impressive for her age, and being ranked as a low-tier knight was a notable achievement. However, facing a low-mid-tier monster on her own was far beyond her current capabilities. Seijin let out a deep sigh. It would take at least a minute for Yundohan to reach the nearest Knight's Order base, considering his running speed. However, the arrival time of high-ranked knights to provide assistance was uncertain. With the situation escalating, there was no time for careful planning. Yu Sejong's mana-infused sword struck the troll's fist, causing explosive shockwaves and a deafening roar that shook the ground. She barely avoided being knocked out by the force of the blow, but that was all she could manage. Her strength was at its limit. Her face, once confident and relaxed, was now filled with panic as the troll's enormous fists cast a dark shadow over her. The relentless assault of its powerful blows fell upon her like a torrential downpour, showing no sign of mercy. Seijin gritted his teeth, battling his fear despite his intense emotions urging him to confront the troll. He wondered if this was what firefighters felt when facing a raging inferno. Tkwang! As he hesitated, the troll's fist struck Yu Sejong, sending her flying through the air like a thrown baseball. Her finely crafted sword shattered into dust, and her stylish battle armor was twisted and ruined, losing all its protective value. The troll roared as it moved forward. When it reached the fallen Yu Sejong, it raised its massive hand menacingly. Yu Sejong, unable to close her eyes, stared in disbelief at the unfolding scene. The pain was so intense she couldn't even cry out. The entire situation felt like a nightmarish dream, and all she wanted was to escape from this horrifying reality. If only she could wake from this nightmare. The troll's massive hand descended slowly toward her. Time seemed to slow down in her mind, leaving her thoughts empty and her mind blank. It was at this moment. A man suddenly appeared, creating a whirlwind as he blocked the troll's fist with his own body. Using only his arms and legs, and without any visible mana, he halted the troll's advance solely through his physical strength. His clothes were torn by the troll's immense pressure, and the ground beneath him gave way, yet he remained steadfast, facing the troll head-on with unwavering resolve. Yu Sejong watched in stunned silence, unable to believe the surreal scene before her, which defied all logic. Although the scene felt more like a surreal dream than reality, Yu Sejong forced herself to accept that it was indeed happening right before her eyes. Go! The man shouted urgently at the dazed Yu Sejong. However, due to the impact she had endured, her ears were ringing with tinnitus, making it difficult for her to hear him clearly. Yu Sejong shook her head vigorously until she finally understood the man's urgent warning. Get the hell away from here, you damn idiot! Seijin, overwhelmed by the troll's immense weight, felt as if his bones were shattering from the excruciating pain. Despite the agony, he had no choice but to endure. Seijin endured the pain because Yu Sejong, the reason for his effort to buy time, was still dazed and watching passively. The use of harsh words seemed to snap her out of her stupor. Realizing the severity of the situation, she began dragging her injured leg to distance herself. Once she was safely away, Seijin quickly rolled out of harm's way. An earth-shaking explosion created a crater shaped like the troll's fist, where Seijin had been standing moments before. The troll, enraged by the unexpected interference, let out an angry snort and turned its attention towards Seijin. At the same time, Seijin's strength drained away. 1 minute was truly a brief span of time. Strangely, he felt no pain despite the skill's end. It was likely that the bones and nerves in both of his arms were severely damaged. He couldn't feel his arms at all, as if they were no longer there. Miss you! That son of a B***! Hey, stop right there! A powerful commanding voice echoed from a distance, cutting through the chaos. At the sound of the authoritative roar, the troll exhibited signs of panic and quickly turned its head. You foul creature! A bald man burst from the tall grass like a projectile, wielding a gleaming sword with a sharp metallic edge. He launched a crescent-shaped sword aura towards the troll, its power intense enough to split the sky. The supersonic sword aura struck the troll before it could react, cutting through its torso effortlessly. The troll's body split in half and collapsed to the ground as if it were nothing more than a mere obstacle. "Sejong, are you okay?" The knight, whose single strike had made Sejin's desperate effort seem futile, rushed to Yu Sejong, who lay on the ground with broken legs and a severely injured body. "Sejong! This can't be! How did your beautiful face get so—" The knight fussed over her, carefully cradling her in his arms. "Oh, my body won't move." Suddenly, Sejong coughed up a clot of blood. "Oh my God! What the hell? Sejong! Sejong Tilda!" The man's face alternated between red and pale as he cried and fussed over her. Despite his distress, Sejong's thoughts were preoccupied with other concerns, making his actions a source of annoyance rather than comfort. Her face had swollen significantly, making it hard to keep her eyes open. Nonetheless, she forced herself to look at a particular man. His clothes were torn to shreds, exposing the well-defined, muscular physique beneath, reminiscent of a Greek statue. His limp arms were darkly discolored, extending beyond a purplish hue, and his legs trembled uncontrollably, as if he might collapse at any moment. Though he had saved her, Yu Sejong couldn't recall his name. She felt a pang of regret, realizing she should have remembered it. The man glanced briefly at her before turning and walking unsteadily toward an unknown destination. Yu Sejong wished she could reach out to him, but her body wouldn't respond. She wanted to ask him to wait, but she couldn't even feel her mouth. As her heavy eyelids slowly closed, Yu Sejong could only fix her gaze on the man's retreating figure. Asterisk. Despite the overwhelming urge to collapse, Sejin pressed on, struggling with his bloodied and damaged body. Once he no longer sensed any nearby presence, he swiftly transformed into his wolf form. The wounds and fading consciousness persisted, but Sejin pushed his two functional limbs to run with all his strength. Losing consciousness in the monster field would be tantamount to death. He ran non-stop until he reached the cave. Once there, he transformed back into his human form and quickly drank the potions he had prepared earlier. Unable to use his arms, Sejin opened the potion bottle with his lips. Fortunately, the potion quickly healed his wounds. However, his wavering consciousness remained a problem. It appeared to be a side effect of using the skill. Exhausted, Sejin collapsed on the ground and fell into a deep sleep. The Raven Knight Order was recognized as Korea's top Knight Order. However, when distinguishing between privately run and government-owned Knight Orders, the situation became more complex. While the Raven Order set the standard for others, private Knight Orders introduced additional layers of complexity. There were 2 top-tier Knight Orders, 9 in the mid-tier, and 12 smaller orders, all competing vigorously. One of the top 2 was the Saebyuk Knights Order, which was owned by the powerful global conglomerate Saebyukdal. When the Saebyuk Knights Order was first established, it was criticized as a low-ranking order backed merely by a wealthy patron. However, due to its rapid advancement fueled by immense wealth, it soon gained a reputation as a model of modern success. Today, in discussions about the top Knight Orders, the names Raven, Goryeo, and Saebyuk are frequently mentioned. Saebyuk Order's financial support far surpassed that of its competitors. Saebyuk means dawn, and Saebyukdal refers to the moon appearing at dawn. Goryeo was the name of an ancient Korean kingdom. "It wasn't Uncle Hyuno's fault. Please stop apologizing." Yu Sejong was the granddaughter of the chairman of Saebyukdal, one of the world's largest corporations, and the daughter of the current master of the Saebyuk Knight Order. Yu Sejong was a figure of immense importance, born into great privilege as the granddaughter of the chairman of Saebyukdal and the daughter of the master of the Saebyuk Knight Order. Her status was significant enough to make even a renowned high-tier knight like Park Hyun-oh worry about her. "No, that's not it. Regardless of the circumstances, I should have been there to watch over you." Yu Sejong's background was as impressive as her talents. At just 17 years and 45 days old, she received official recognition as a low-tier knight, coming close to Kim Yoo-rin's record of 17 years and 6 days. This achievement highlighted Yu Sejong's exceptional skills, making her stand out among her peers. "Stop with the self-pity and tell me, have you found out the information I requested?" Yu Sejong, upon waking from her 2-day coma, immediately inquired about the identity of a particular man. The mysterious man who saved Yu Sejong's life remained unidentified, as Park Hyun-oh had been too preoccupied with rescuing her to take note of him. Yu Sejong, however, was adamant that this unknown individual was her savior. "Hold on a second. Did you even look into this?" she asked sharply, her gaze intense and piercing as she confronted Park Hyun-oh's hesitation. "No way!" Park Hyun-oh exclaimed. "Honestly, I thought it was improbable. I figured you might have been imagining things since it's almost impossible for a low-tier hunter to handle a troll on their own, but he trailed off, searching through his pockets until he produced a bronze-colored hunter license. Here it is. Even I was surprised. Park Hyun-oh continued, I found it among all the shredded clothing on the ground. He held the license card up close to Yoo Se-jung, who was unable to move due to paralysis. A heavenly gifted hunter, Kim Se-jin. Wait, heavenly gifted? Yeah, that's right, Park Hyun-oh confirmed. It's been a long time since I've seen that title, but it makes sense when you think about it. Park Hyun-oh continued, hunters with the heavenly gifted title are known to be a bit unusual, aren't they? Yoo Se-jung asked urgently. You can find him, right? Of course, Park Hyun-oh assured her. I've already started looking. It's only a matter of time before he's here, but before that... He suddenly narrowed his eyes and stared intently at Yoo Se-jung. Yoo Se-jung smiled confidently as she said, It's just like Grandpa always said, repay a favor as soon as possible and hold a grudge as long as you can. I've taken that lesson to heart. Then she remembered something important and raised her brows, asking, Yoo Se-jung's expression grew serious as she asked, That's settled, but can I be fully healed? I overheard that my paralysis is quite severe. Park Hyun-oh tensed slightly. You heard that? I thought you were asleep. Yes, you mentioned it's very serious, she replied. Just a decade ago, paralysis like Yoo Se-jung's would have been excruciating and incurable. However, with advances in alchemy, it now only required a single potion to heal. Her case was more severe than usual, though, necessitating a powerful potion of upper mid-grade or higher for full recovery. Don't worry about it. I just received news that there's an alchemy house in Gangwon with upper mid-grade potions available for healing and regeneration. Their products are known for their quality, and thanks to a generous deal made by the chairman, we'll have first access to these potions. That's a relief. Yoo Se-jung nodded, though she seemed indifferent. What's the name of the potion? I heard the Eastern Seaboard workshops were still on strike. Has that ended? No, the strike is still ongoing. This potion is a new product, just recently developed. I've heard it's from an unknown individual who suddenly appeared and delivered an extraordinary product. The people involved have been buzzing about a new genius emerging. All right, just tell me the name. Well, the name itself is somewhat dubious. Park Hyun-oh hesitated before finally revealing the name, despite Yoo Se-jung's impatient stares. After some reluctance, he stuttered out, I checked a few times to confirm. The potion is called A Goblin's Kindness. Yoo Se-jung frowned at the name A Goblin's Kindness, finding it too unusual to fully trust. She remarked on how potion names typically reflect their credibility and effects, making this one seem questionable. For instance, the well-regarded Drent series of potions offered clear names reflecting their uses. Drent's emergency treatment was used for minor wounds like cuts and bruises, while the upper mid-grade potion, the Miracle of Drent, was designed for more severe conditions or diseases. On a related note, the Drent series was named after the mythical tree of life from elven legends, said to be capable of reviving the dead with just one of its leaves. In contrast, the name Goblin seemed to lack such esteemed credibility, creating a significant gap in trustworthiness. Despite the deep-seated mistrust and hostility associated with the name Goblin, the alchemist still chose it for his potion. Initially skeptical, Park Hyun-oh admitted that after hearing the explanations, the name started to make some sense. Park Hyun-oh explained that while the name Goblin's Kindness initially seemed untrustworthy, it made sense considering the goblin's renowned ability to create potent potions. People have even risked raiding goblin villages, despite the dangers, just to obtain their concoctions. He added that the potion had already been officially registered in the naming series, indicating high expectations for its effectiveness. In the world of alchemy, where anonymity is highly valued, the credibility and effectiveness of a potion are often judged by its name. To avoid confusion or distrust, a naming series functions as a registered brand trademark, ensuring that each potion's name is unique and protected. This system is strictly enforced to maintain the reputation and reliability of the potions and their creators. In the Alchemist Society, strict laws govern the naming series, ensuring that potion names are unique and reliable, protecting their credibility. When Yoo Se-jung asked if the effects of the oddly named potion were confirmed, Park Hyun-oh reassured her. He pointed out that neither the chairman nor the order master would invest in anything questionable. Lowering his voice and glancing around cautiously, Park Hyun-oh leaned in close to whisper something more confidential into Yoo Se-jung's ear. Park Hyun-oh assured Yoo Se-jung that the potion was trustworthy, mentioning that the dark elf Hazeline, a respected manager, had already approved it. Even though they were in the privacy of her exclusive VIP hospital room, he leaned in to whisper this information, treating her with the utmost respect and care as if she were royalty. Alchemists valued anonymity primarily because nearly half of them were dark elves, a race known for their aversion to revealing their appearances. They habitually concealed themselves in thick robes, making secrecy a deeply ingrained part of their culture. It was widely believed that dark elves were stunningly beautiful, given their elven heritage. However, their intense dislike for bright places and crowded human environments meant that very few people had ever seen their true appearance. As a result, there were hardly any records or witnesses to confirm these assumptions. There was even a dark rumor that had gained traction in some circles, claiming that the first person to upload a picture of a dark elf online was hunted down and killed by the very elf they exposed. Hazeline approved it? Then it should be fine, Yoo Se-jung responded, feeling reassured. When will the product definitely arrive? Yoo Se-jung asked. She mentioned it wouldn't take long. Hold on. Let me step out and make a quick call to confirm, Park Hyun-oh replied, hurriedly leaving the room. A short while later, he returned. Please wait just a bit longer. It should be here soon, for sure. Hazeline, Yoo Se-jung whispered, feeling a mix of anticipation and relief. No, Manager Hazeline, what do you mean by that? It feels like you're deliberately trying to confuse me, Yoo Se-jung said with a slight frown. You're mistaken, Manager Hazeline replied calmly. Park Hyun-oh chuckled lightly. Manager Hazeline, our young miss is a knight, but she's only 17 years old. She should be out training and enjoying life, not stuck in a hospital bed doing nothing. I know that, Manager Hazeline said, clearly frustrated. As I mentioned before, just be patient for a little longer. With that, she ended the call and tossed her mobile phone onto the desk. It was clear that Hazeline was in a foul mood, evident from her heavy breathing, tightly closed eyes, and the way she rubbed her temples. Ugh, when is that guy going to show up? Didn't he say he had the completed potions by now? Her intense gaze shifted to the Alchemy House employee waiting nearby. The employee, already stressed, was now sweating heavily as he struggled to speak. Yes, he did say he had 3 completed potions. We tried calling the number he provided, but there's been no response so far. Hazeline sighed heavily. Hazeline was clearly frustrated, muttering angrily about the situation. She complained about the unrealistic expectations of humans regarding potion production, blaming the shortage on constant nagging from impatient individuals. Her irritation was evident as she vented her frustrations, criticizing those she believed were responsible for the problem. In a fit of frustration, Hazeline let out a loud, angry howl. Her anger boiling over, she clenched her fist tightly and slammed it down on the desk, venting her rage. The door to Hazeline's office flew open with a soft thud, contrasting sharply with her earlier explosive anger. An employee burst in, announcing with urgency, "Manager Hazeline, the alchemist has arrived." Hazeline's eyes widened in surprise and she sprang out of her seat. There are 2 main types of alchemists. The first group is involved in transmutation and reconfiguration, widely recognized for their work. The second group, however, focuses entirely on understanding and crafting potions. Some specialists differentiate between these two by calling the former alchemists and the latter potion crafters. Despite their different specializations, all alchemists shared a common trait, a preference for darkness. This inclination was evident regardless of whether they were focused on transmutation and reconfiguration or potion crafting. In the dimly lit room where sunlight could barely penetrate, Hazeline's bright smile was the only source of light. "Do you find the coffee to your liking?" she asked. "Yes," Se-jin replied, trying to appear relaxed as he set the cup down. However, he found it quite difficult to maintain his composure under the elf's intense gaze. Hazeline was one of the most breathtaking women in the world, a fitting representative of the race of beautiful people, the elves. Her radiant alabaster skin seemed almost out of place for a dark elf, while her indigo-colored, straight, long hair and flawlessly balanced facial features created a beauty beyond words. Hazeline, a dark elf renowned for her stunning beauty, engaged in a conversation with Se-jin in a dimly lit room. Her alabaster skin, long indigo hair, and perfectly balanced features made her a striking figure, even among elves. Despite the secretive nature of her kind, Hazeline openly revealed her identity, race, and name to Se-jin. She clarified that this openness was an act of courtesy, surprising Se-jin, who had expected more secrecy based on the rumors he had heard. With introductions complete, Hazeline suggested they move on to the main topic of their meeting. Seijin confidently discussed his potion, claiming it to be his life's greatest achievement. However, he was fully aware that this was far from the truth. The knowledge he gained as an elite goblin surpassed that of even the top alchemists, and with the high-quality ingredient of saber-toothed tiger fangs, the potion only took him about 7 days to brew. Despite his confident facade, Seijin knew that this potion, while impressive, was hardly the pinnacle of his abilities. Seijin couldn't help but stifle a reaction when Hazeline, with a solemn expression, commended him on the supposed years of hard work and dedication it must have taken to create such an effective potion. In reality, the potion only required 7 days of fermentation, a necessary but straightforward process. Her sincere praise nearly caused him to spit out his coffee, given how far from the truth her assumptions were. Seijin maintained a calm demeanor, nodding as he wiped his lips to mask his surprise. "It's good that you understand," he replied, keeping his tone composed. Hazeline smiled and continued. "Indeed. Given the quality of your potion, word has spread quickly. Some clients are eager to purchase it even before it's officially released. Here are the letters from those who sincerely wish to buy it." She slid 5 formal letters across the table. The names of prestigious knight orders, major corporations, and well-known wealthy individuals were boldly printed on them, instantly recognizable to anyone. Seijin's eyes widened as he glanced over the figures. $360K, $440K, $623K. The sums listed below each name were beyond anything he had ever imagined earning. Hazeline calmly explained, "These amounts represent the legally approved sales commissions. There's a policy that allows an alchemist to sell directly to private individuals or organizations, as long as the quantity sold is less than half of your current stock." Hazeline explained that while the government imposes a 48% sales tax, buyers usually add a little extra on top of the market price, making the tax impact negligible. Seijin nodded in agreement, pleased with the arrangement. Observing his reaction, Hazeline hesitated slightly before continuing. "However, there's one more thing." Hazeline carefully explained that for high-value commissions like these, not only the potion's effectiveness, but also the alchemy house's influence plays a crucial role. As a result, the house would need to take a percentage of the profits. She noted that without these connections, a less reputable house might simply sell the potion on the market without considering the bigger picture. Despite this being standard practice, Hazeline felt uneasy due to the exceptional quality of the potions Seijin had provided. Seijin, an alchemist with an impressive ability to brew potions, met with Hazeline, a dark elf managing an alchemy house, to discuss the sale of his latest creation. Despite the negotiations' tense atmosphere, largely due to the potion's exceptional quality, Hazeline offered favorable terms, reducing the alchemy house's usual commission to 35%. Seijin, confident in his work but aware that his skill is largely due to external factors, agreed without much hesitation, satisfied with the arrangement. Seijin had never heard of any elf, whether dark, regular, or high, engaging in deceit. Moreover, what Hazeline said aligned with the information he found online. While it would usually be unwise to rely solely on internet research for something so crucial, the trustworthy nature of dark elves and alchemists made this less of a concern. Their commitment to anonymity seemed to make them more genuine in their interactions once their privacy was assured. The internet was indeed the ideal platform for anonymous communication. After all, tales of alchemists being avid gamers didn't just appear by coincidence. When Seijin quickly reached this conclusion, Hazeline was momentarily stunned. However, she swiftly composed herself and before Seijin could reconsider, moved to finalize the deal. Hazeline, in a flurry of activity, urged, "If that's the case, just stamp your seal on the sales request form with the highest amount written. $623,000 offered by Sebyukdal. Oh, where did the stamping ink go?" As she scrambled to find the ink pad, Seijin observed with a faint, enigmatic smile. Seijin found it oddly satisfying to see Hazeline so flustered, a rare experience for someone in his usual position. When Hazeline finally produced the ink pad, Seijin carefully reviewed the form before stamping his seal. "Great. Just to confirm, do you have the finished products with you now? You mentioned having 3 bottles earlier. We need at least 2. According to the law, half of the stock must be sold on the open market, while the other half can be sold through the sales commission." Seijin revealed 4 bottles from his bag, each emitting the same brilliant light as the samples. Hazeline's eyes lit up, and an uncontrollable grin spread across her face as she saw the potions. Hazeline, despite being the manager of the alchemy house, couldn't completely hide her elation as she inspected the 4 bottles of potion. She quickly regained her composure, but her happiness was evident in her voice. It's perfect. All 4 bottles are exactly what we needed. She examined each bottle closely, shaking them, smelling them, and studying them from different angles before nodding in satisfaction. We don't need to test them. They are flawless. Hazeline, with a hint of curiosity, studied Se-jin's lips as she cautiously asked, I'm quite intrigued. From where did you learn this level of alchemy? Typically, other alchemists send in incomplete potions for evaluation, but your product is flawless from the start. It's unusual, and though I know it's a bit forward, I would like to know more about your background. Se-jin hesitated momentarily at Hazeline's question, but then shared the story he had prepared. My master once advised me that any lingering doubt meant you were off track. He instructed to discard all distractions and commit fully to the craft until achieving the highest level. I am simply adhering to that teaching. Hazeline, recognizing the deep respect between master and apprentice in the alchemical profession, nodded appreciatively. You must have had a remarkable master. He would surely be proud to see his apprentice achieve such success. Se-jin responded with a hint of sadness. Yes, it's unfortunate that he passed away before witnessing my achievements. Though Se-jin was certain Hazeline wouldn't ask for his master's name, he still felt a twinge of anxiety. To preempt any further questioning, he reinforced his story, reassuring himself that it wasn't entirely fabricated. After all, he did have a master who imparted all the knowledge and techniques, even if he had ended up killing him. Hazeline responded sympathetically, How unfortunate. Hazeline, unaware of the true circumstances, accepted Se-jin's version of the story with a somber expression. If that's everything, she said, I'm running short on time. As 30 minutes quickly passed, Se-jin rose to leave, with Hazeline standing up as well. She extended her hand with a satisfied smile, ready to shake hands. Hazeline, smiling brightly, assured Se-jin, For choosing us will ensure the Goblin series becomes known as the best potion brand in the world. You can trust us. I'm planning to hold a press conference right after this meeting. Leveraging the media is crucial for marketing these days. Se-jin, appreciating her words, shook her hand firmly with a smile, responding, Thank you.